Yeah, and here, dog.
If you
Hold on.
can do it, then you can too. All team together and we'll make it through. I've been going. I'm just messing around. Hey guys, it's Benno here. Addie is here. She's just digging around.
Hello.
And listen, today I feel emotional. And so I thought it would be nice to do one on what you can do when you're hyper emotional. Like right now,
Mm,
I got this pained feeling in my chest that my body says, you're unsafe, you're hurt, you're gonna die. And it feels real to me, but I know that that is not me. Does
mhm.
that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. It's like the feelings that we have get so overwhelming, and they tell us it's like there's two ways that you can either have your feelings inform your body, or sometimes it's the other way around. And this
Yeah.
sense that you have in your body is like then like feeding back into your thoughts, right?
Yes. And then we
So,
witness the world through those glasses of the emotion that we're inhabited
mm,
by. And
mm-hmm,
everything seems crap when you're sad. Everything feels ecstatic when you're ecstatic, you know?
mm-hmm,
And so I wanted to answer the question for people like, okay, let's say you're burned out as hell. Let's say you've been running on high RPMs for years. You got so many responsibilities. How do you nurture yourself in those moments when you're feeling really dark and grim and like a log? And so this is something that I've had to learn over the past year, because we feel these emotions. How do we manage them? The first thing that I've changed in my behavior pattern is I focus on self nurturing, and I do a set of things where I talk to myself in a different tone, and my priority just becomes about like looking after myself in that moment. And that
mm-hmm.
looks different for everyone. But I think one thing that's really helped, for example, is taking a warm shower. So that's what I do.
Mm,
Check through the
mm-hmm.
mental checklist of, have I drank? Have I slept well? Have I eaten? I have not eaten.
Did you
Jeezy.
not eat today?
I forget to eat because I don't have like a
Oh,
routine for my morning yet, and it doesn't include like
mm-hmm,
I've got like showering down, I've got toothbrushing down. Great, good
mm-hmm.
for me. And I think on the end of that, I could stack like eat some food because like the
Breakfast, yeah.
energy you get from freaking morning food is so good.
This
I haven't
been,
intaken any of that.
we've been having our little chat about setting up routines and getting your routine going, and I was like, breakfast, first thing for me. So important.
Yeah, breakfast. How do you navigate when you are just like it feels like you've been punched in the chest, or it feels like the world's over and you're hyper
Mm.
emotional or numb or frozen?
So
How do you manage yourself?
it depends on like what has put me in that situation. If I'm in a situation with another person, I try to remove myself if I can, um, because otherwise, that's a fight like waiting to happen, right?
Right.
And
Right. So you're aware that
I've gotten
you're
better
feeling
at it.
something.
Like, yeah, there's still sometimes where I get triggered and I get, in a fight with a partner or like whoever, random person on the street if they trigger me wrong, like not quite
Yeah. I've seen that happen
with
with
me.
you. Yeah. I'm like, "Oh, here we
Um,
go."
so I have gotten better at um recognizing when I'm feeling a certain way, like a strong way, and then I try and remove myself from the situation. And I'll try and say something like, I'm feeling a lot of things right now. I'm not in the place for any criticism, and I just like need to not have this conversation right now, or whatever. It's different if it's like a random person on the street, 'cause I probably don't care. I'm not going to see them again. But
So it's like you build up a map within your body of awareness of like, oh, these are the sensations I start to feel before I burst out angry. This is
mm,
is it an inside feeling, or is it like a set of thoughts, or you?
well, for me, yeah, it's usually like I start feeling. Often it's like in my solar plexus, I guess, or like stomach gets tight. You know that
Mm.
feeling? Or
Mhm.
I noticed that like my breathing is starting to get like
Nice.
faster. Um,
Yes.
or I'm starting to
I
like
get like,
tense your muscles, like start to get tense,
mm, mm. I
and
feel my heart
recognizing
rate
that.
increase now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. It sounds like you have a good awareness of the sensations. And I think those can act as a kind of like early warning system for us. And like, I
Mm-hmm.
think taking myself out of the situation in those times, or even feeling like I can take myself out of the situation at those times, has made me feel like I'm more in control of my emotions because I don't feel so trapped. Because I think that when we look at like freeze, there's fight and there's flight and then freeze. I think
Mm,
freeze is one of feeling trapped, feeling stuck, feeling not in control of your own
mm-hmm.
autonomy. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that plays out for us ADHDers in lots of different ways, but particularly like when things are intense. I think that like it's almost like a seizing up, it still feels like we're that deer
Yeah.
in the cheetah's jaws, the baby deer, and we have to,
Mm-hmm.
and like what in nature helps us move, like what does the deer do when it manages to, it's pretending to be dead, it's in freeze, it manages to run away from the cheetah. What does it do to finish that natural cycle?
They like
Do you know?
shake.
Yeah,
They shake
they
their body, right?
shake. And
Yeah.
I wanted to share this with people because, when Taylor Swift, the wise prophet that she is, said, "Shake it off," she wasn't joking. I think she was talking about when you have felt an intense thing, an adrenalizing intense thing,
Mm-hmm.
the full cycle with which we used to do, like, or what animals still do, is they shake it off. We
Yeah.
did it before the beginning of podcasts at the early days. We used
To
to
get
like, right,
hyped,
let's
yeah.
do the heebie jeebies, let's like get all the heebie jeebies out, and we'd shake all our limbs and we would like yell things. And I think, like, why does that work? Why have we forgotten that as a society? Like, you
Yeah.
don't see random people like after a really adrenalizing experience just shaking in the street because it's like, you know,
Weird.
it's not the rules. We don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
We have to follow the rules. And so I wanted to introduce this as a concept that we can all do, because sometimes there's this like energy inside us and we don't know how to like get it out or process it. And I think what that does is it just shakes all the adrenaline through, rather than just circulating in the body. It's like, let's
Mm-hmm.
get this out of
Totally.
ourselves, and it jiggles it through.
My
So
therapist
that's a
actually
good
told me
idea.
that. I, a couple months ago, when I was like dealing with the breakup that I was going through, and I was feeling some really intense things, and I had a period of what I have now identified to be like primal panic, which is,
Mm,
if you look it up, you and I spoke about this like in private, what, like 2, 3 weeks ago, where
yeah.
it's this state of just like you are thrown back basically to like infancy when you're this like 1-year-old child and you can't communicate and your parent is not looking at you and not engaging with you. And it puts you basically in that state of like, for me, in my situation, it was like things were happening with my partner. I wasn't getting what I needed out of the relationship. And it threw me into this intense state of like rage and just my whole body for literally like, I want to say 15 hours. Like it was a full overnight into the next day feeling. And I spoke to my therapist the next session I had, and I was like, I do not want to feel like that. Like it's not comfortable. It's hard. Like my whole body was tense, and it was that state where then your body is feeding your thoughts, and I was just having these like really angry thoughts as well. And I was like anger, yes, is natural, but when it builds to that point where it's this such intense panic and rage, it's like you want to get out of that. And she
When
was
it's
like,
running the
well,
show.
yeah, she was like, well, one of the things you can do, or like she suggested, therapists won't ever tell you, a good therapist at least won't ever tell you what you should do, but they will suggest things. She's like, one thing you can do is, she's like, shake, like get up and just like shake your body. And it helps to like release that very intense, like overwhelming sensation that you're feeling. And another one that my friend suggested, because this is like a former coping mechanism that I had when I was having very strong feelings, would be to self-harm, because that was a way to release it. Like you felt something that was not that feeling, right? It was putting it on some other sensation. And she said that way
Yeah.
she's combated that urge to want to self-harm. Instead, she's like, I put my face in the freezer.
Your
Because
face in the freezer.
it's
Right.
like super intense. It like takes your breath away. You can't feel anything else, I guess. And I like haven't tried it myself, but I was like, oh, that's a really good, because it's like
Yeah.
putting yourself almost in that state of pain,
Because I
physical
feel
pain.
like what we learn growing up is anger and intense emotions are kind of illegal. We learn that,
Yeah, and
because
so then you try and
instead
push
of
them
like
down,
when,
and then they build and build and
yes,
build.
especially if we've got parents that don't have a regulated nervous system that maybe reacted to our behavior
Mhm,
intensely instead of just letting it be because it's a reaction for a reason.
mhm,
And
mhm,
And I feel like we don't learn to navigate these intense, uncomfortable emotions because of that. And the anger you feel in those moments, you said it was uncontrolled rage. I
mm,
think these parts of us are protective. Like anger is such a protective emotion. It shows
mhm,
that there's a core part of you that felt under threat, and I think these emotional scars from abandonment at childhood, these times when we weren't seen, and I think there's this innate thing in us that makes us feel like a baby bird in a nest where, oh no, I'm unsafe,
yeah,
I'm gonna die. And it's kind of really scary feeling. And if we never get to process that, especially if it's like pre-verbal and a
mhm,
pre-verbal
mhm,
imprint before we learn to talk, then that is going to live in our nervous system. And if we're told it's illegal to even feel a color of emotion, then we're never going to be like, okay, I'm allowed to feel that and give that part of us the validation it needs to dissolve.
mm, mhm,
Because I feel like these emotions inside us, they're imprints and parts of us that were learned for a reason during conditioning, and they
mhm.
are protective parts of us. And I think
Yeah,
all they need is that validation of like, hey, I see you. And so like yelling into a pillow extremely loudly, for example, gives you a chance to experience that emotion very viscerally in a way that hurts no one, but
mhm,
it gives that part of you a chance to be seen, heard, and experienced.
mm, totally. Or I've found for me, um, punching things, like, that I'm allowed to punch, like a punching bag.
Please give me
Uh,
a list. I need some.
get a punching bag. Honestly, when I was the next day after I was like in that state, and my now ex came up and was like trying to talk to me, and I tried to do the I'm not in a state to talk, and he pushed more, and then I like blew up, and I was like, I need to go. I'm gonna go to the
Oh,
gym. Da, da, da. And I went to the
yeah.
gym, and I was kickboxing. I was punching the bag, and I was like, this thing came out of me, and I was like literally like wailing while I was punching on the bag, like I was hitting it, and I was like,
And I bet people in the
it was,
gym were like, wow, that girl has just gone through a breakup, probably. Let's let her keep smashing that bag.
it was like, but I felt afterwards the state of like zen or like calm that I felt, because I through that screaming, basically, I feel like that was like getting that state out of my body. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. 100%. I
Yeah.
think that uh, sometimes I approach emotions like it's just a mental thing rather than a body thing because
Mhm.
our body is like, what? It's all one system, is what everyone
The
keeps
body keeps
saying to
score.
me. The body keeps the score. And until you validate the emotions in your head, they're going to keep coming up like notifications.
Mhm.
Um, One
And
thing it made
like,
me think about. Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I
I
was
can
just going to
remember.
say, so many of us have that, you called it pre-verbal trauma, or, like that state, because I think, ADHD is hereditary. And so many of us probably had these situations when we were infants or young children where our parents were not intentionally, I don't think, but probably we were ignored and not seen and not validated. And then it builds this internal state of like desperation. And I think just understanding that and acknowledging it and like telling that inner child, like, you are safe, it's okay, I'm here, can do so much towards like helping calm that state, you know?
Yes.
Yes.
Like, did you ever have an experience where you go over your friend's house and you were like, wow, it's so calm here?
Yeah.
Because, like,
You're
if you
like,
have a parent or parents with an unregulated nervous system, like they react to your emotion more intensely than
mm,
the emotion. Like, if a kid is feeling scared, you're in a high stimulated nervous system state, and all you need to do is be helped down because we're learning that skill when we're like 2, 3, 4.
hmm
And we want to be brought back down to this baseline state where we can connect, where we're not narrow focus, where we're not running away from a tiger, which our body feels. We want to be co-regulated, they call it.
mm.
And so if we never learn those skills, which I don't think you and me ever learned for a long time,
Yeah.
we have to do this thing. And this word has really stood out to me. It's called reparenting. We have to be the
Mm-hmm.
parent that we didn't have, the emotionally wise parent that we never had. And when I see myself in a state of mind, I have to breathe in deep, exhale longer than I breathed in to regulate my emotion back to a baseline state. And I call it
Mm-hmm.
like Papa Ben. Like I am that
Papa
caring
Ben.
force for
Oh.
myself that I didn't have the opportunity to have.
Mm.
Yeah, Papa
Mm-hmm.
Ben.
Ah,
Reparenting. I think that's such a
yeah.
massive concept for us because I think that sometimes with emotions, I feel like society as a whole is totally emotion illiterate with how to
Mm.
regulate and navigate emotions, to understand emotions, to validate emotions. We're
Mm-hmm.
told that if you're sad, or there's like it's bad for you to be sad,
Yeah.
like it's
And whereas
like
like
it's not
sadness is a
normal to be
perfectly normal
sad.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, and like depression is so high that we need a freaking huge change in mental health care and emotional literacy to begin
Mm.
understanding this. And it begins with reparenting and
Mm.
learning to regulate our own nervous systems, taking responsibility for our emotions. And
Mm-hmm.
it's totally learnable, which is what is not shown to us.
Yeah.
Because I've had to learn to manage my emotions because ADHD emotions can be so intense. They can ruin your relationships
Mm-hmm.
if you don't learn to, if you don't get the opportunity or time to have therapy and to attend to these intense emotions. Then you just lash out at your boss and then lose your job, stuff like this. And
Whoops, who did
so,
that? I don't know.
lol, I didn't say that on purpose to like dig you out, by the way.
That was a long time ago.
It's fine. It's fine because you're not the only one. I have another friend who's also ADHD who also yelled at their boss and also lost their job.
I mean, it's so common. We lose our jobs all the time
Yeah.
because of
So
stuff like that. Anyway,
let's say
stop
you're
losing your job and
navigating
reparent.
anger. I wanted to just mention the traffic light system to help navigate anger because
Mm-hmm.
when you're with your
Who taught you that?
significant other, I guess you want me to say you, but I'm not sure.
No.
um, okay, traffic light system. It's just basically you're constantly updating the people around you with how you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like red, you got red eye, like you got fire in your
Red
belly.
is
You're gonna
fuck off.
rage.
You can just
Yeah,
get
red
the
is
fuck
fuck
out of my
off.
face.
Isolate yourself, and you're like, oh, I'm pretty red at the moment, or I'm pretty red, or I'm, or
I'm in
sometimes
the
something
red
intense
zone.
happens. You can say, oh, I'm amber, and I think just having that vocabulary has really helped me or sharing your battery level in general.
Mm,
Like at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, babe, I'm like 12% juice right now. I think communicating this two-way conversation with our emotions, because I think like I was raised in Western English culture. My wife was raised in Midwest American culture, and we were both taught to kind of ignore our emotions,
mm,
you know? Don't
mm-hmm,
talk about your emotions. In fact, you don't gain a language to even talk about your emotions. But talking about your
mm-hmm,
emotions openly, I think has really helped let us become more intimate, and
mm,
we can manage the ADHD as a group together better.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how do you
So
reparent?
like,
Just tell yourself that
yeah,
it's
great
okay.
question. Great question. Okay. I think, okay, there's the emotional navigation side. There's being aware of the sensations in your body a
Yeah.
bit more,
Mm-hmm.
uh, making time to, if you can make time to be alone and just feel what's inside and just allow it to be there, or begin a relationship with the feelings. Like, I know that can sound really hippy dippy, but when you start going to therapy and stuff, that's all they talk about. Like, or like it's so
Feel.
big in like yoga, meditation, and everything. It's like then you begin to increase the resolution of these sensations, and you can navigate. You begin to get early
Yeah, because
warning
if
messages.
you don't know how to even listen to your body in the first place, how are you then supposed to get those early warning signs that we were talking about earlier, that like, oh, my heart rate is increasing, oh, my breathing is faster, oh, my stomach is feeling tight. If you have no even awareness of your bodily
But it's
sensations,
not
which
their
many of
fault.
us don't,
Yeah, we
right?
block them out on purpose because of trauma with a little t. You know,
Well, and
because of
also
CPTSD.
like
It's like we block them
interoception
out.
stuff, right?
Yeah, alexithymia is the disconnection word.
Mm-hmm.
And like so many of us are autistics and ADHDers, uh,
Mm-hmm.
don't have these feelings because we couldn't trust those feelings, because we felt really intense and everyone around us is like, oh, just don't feel that. And then we get gaslit of what we're feeling, disconnected from what everyone else is feeling. So of course
Mm-hmm.
we learn to distrust those feelings. We learn to be afraid of those feelings, especially because a lot of those feelings that are chilling out inside of us are horrible feelings: guilt, shame, disgust.
Rage.
Oh, I'm shit at this. I'm shit at that. Rage. Exactly. They're like ones that we're not taught how to navigate. Uncontrollable rage. We could do a whole episode on how to navigate uncontrollable rage, because I think it's massive. And I think that there needs to be more healthy outlets for anger in general, and a massive conversation about around that. I think
Mm,
that a lot of anger is protective, and it's just trying to defend our body from like shame and like shame triggers or shame spikes,
mm-hmm.
you know, because it's like crushing. Like when I get a shame spike, or when I feel like, oh, I'm reminded of how bad I am at organizing again, I get crushed inside.
Mm.
And it's like my sense of self shatters like a piece of glass. And so, uh, I don't know. You know, sometimes when I'm doing this podcast, my brain just deletes what I'm saying in the middle of saying it. And I
I
wanted
wanted
to
to
start
say
talking about that out loud.
something,
I'm like,
because you
oh,
were
my
saying
mind just deleted everything.
you were saying that we get told that what we're feeling is wrong, and that like other people tell us um that we're not feeling the right thing. And there's also this whole idea that neurodivergent people, and especially autistics, uh have are and ADHDs as well, are like not good at reading other people's emotions. And I saw a post today that was like, we're not, the thing is, we're just not good at understanding when people are being disingenuous, right? Because so much of neurotypical, like, programming, I want to call it, is like they're saying a thing, but their face is just saying another thing. And it's like we read their face and we understand it, and then the words come out and they're not aligned. And so then that
They're not congruent.
confuses us. And that's why when people are like, oh, you can't,
Yeah.
like, you don't understand what I'm saying, it's like, because you're not being truthful. And it's like,
Yes. Okay, this is such worth a conversation because I remember when I was younger, I was way less good at reading people. Like I was diagnosed autistic spectrum and I didn't know about the ADHD at that point. And I learned that tone of voice shows you how people are really feeling.
mm,
And face, the face gestures, people kind of can act, so you can't always trust them.
hmm
But when there's a incongruence, when there's a difference between what people are saying and what people are feeling, I feel like I am hyper aware of that because I had to be before. Like I had to
hmm
be aware of my mother's emotion to be able to navigate it. You
mm,
know, I had to see, is something brewing there? Should I start putting water on that right now?
mm,
You know, I had to be hyper alert because I was raised in a crazy place. Like I think a lot of ADHDers were.
hmm
And so, what was I saying?
about how
My
you
brain
have
is
to
not
learn how
on.
to read people's tone of voice. I
Yeah,
saw a
it
post
was
recently,
kind of annoying.
um, that was kind of along those lines. And again, it kind of goes back to childhood trauma because so many of us have experienced it, and how we learn to read. Like, so yeah, maybe their overall expression is trying to line up because they're like making their face, trying to line up with what they're saying. But the micro expressions beneath it, like you catch this tiny smirk or the eye or
Yeah,
something like that. And
yeah,
we are so tuned to reading that because, yeah, we grew up in maybe unstable places or like environments where we had to be like, what is this person really trying to say, or like what are their intentions with me, right? And so we're so good at like reading those micro expressions that someone phrased it that they're like, I feel like I can read people's minds at this point.
yeah. It does feel like that, and I do feel like I feel more uncomfortable if someone's not being congruent. It's so much
Yeah,
easy to be
it's
relaxed around someone who's being authentic, and that's
mhm,
why I always try and be authentic for that
mhm,
reason.
mhm. It's like
It's just so
I
hard to
feel
put
like
on a
that's
front all the time.
part of the disconnect between like ADHDers or neurodivergent people and neurotypicals is like, yeah, so much of neurotypical life is non-congruent, and it just like doesn't make sense to us. You're like, why?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it
but
is
why though?
super confusing.
I just don't understand.
Like, you know how some people, when you talk to them, they feel like they're in a script that they've learned rather than reacting in the moment
Mm,
to what you're
mhm.
saying, and it's an evolving conversation. That's really interesting to me, you know. And it's actually recently that I've learned to not be on an inner script and just
Yeah,
listen and
yeah.
react in the moment
I think you were
instead of
really
being like, oh,
good
I can't.
at the social script when I met you because
Hmm.
you had learnt it so well. Like you were so
Yeah,
you would go up to anyone and like just be able to talk to them because you were like, oh, I've like learnt the exact like things, and you were really into like NLP back then. And you were like, I've
yeah.
learnt the things that you have to say and like the words that you have to say to be able to get people to tell you the thing that you want to learn from
It's
them,
funny
right?
because I learned really well the first 5 minutes of conversation, and then I
Yeah.
had no script. So I'd be like the most charismatic person for the first 5 minutes, and then I'd be like, "So I'm weird."
Go play an instrument.
I would like, "Ooh, doo, ooh, doo, doo, doo." Yeah, or play an instrument or something like that. I don't have to like interact.
Yeah.
But now I feel
Yeah.
like talking to people is the weirdest thing in the whole world. Like we could have to do a whole episode on just like conversations with neurotypicals as an art form. I just saw your big breath in, like, yeah. hmm
It makes
Because I
me
think sometimes we have to translate our own
confused.
experience into ways that they'll understand for
Mm.
them to understand us. Because sometimes I feel like they think, you know, we're a bit aliens and we're thinking things differently. And I think that even uh telling people that I have ADHD gives them a bit of more relaxation. Like
Mm,
they're more relaxed after they know, because they're like,
mhm,
what the hell's going on with this guy? Is he like, all right? Yep, I'm fine. I'm just different. I'm different. I like saying random things out loud.
mm.
Yeah, so anyway, navigating intense emotions. That's what we're talking about. What
It's
you do
really
when you're fucking dried out. It's good to go on a
somehow,
tangent.
yeah, we let them happen.
When I'd say it's worth talking about, let's say you're super depressed and sad. Uh what I've learned that helps me in that moment, I breathe, I let myself be sad. I love what Liam Harrison said. He said, I just let myself be sad for the whole day and I start again the next day.
Mm, mhm,
And I was like, wow, okay, you're a championship Muay Thai kickboxer and you suffer with the same things as we do. And that made me feel
mm.
like really good. This guy, he still feels like doubt, doubt
Yeah,
storm
he still
when
has
you're sad.
potato days, you know, when he just wants to.
Potato days.
I love
And
having
do what you
potato days.
can with what you have,
Yeah, and if you need to make
right?
mash, it's okay.
Yeah, maybe you can just be a potato for a whole day.
Ah,
Like
it's
there
my
was this
dream.
e-
Mhm.
experience I had at the end of yoga once,
Yeah.
and she was just like, just lie on the floor, and we're just gonna like, I don't know what type of we were in shavasana, this lying down pose, but she was just like, okay, we're just gonna like die, just like surrender
Just
to the
die now.
floor.
Just.
Right. It sounds weird at first, but that experience, I don't know, do you ever just like do that with a nap or something, but you just completely surrender to what is right now
Mm,
and you just
mhm,
give up? And I swear, like, when I do that, it's really rejuvenating because I
mm.
stop thinking about everything that's going on and I just let it all be at once. Like I surrender. And it feels fucking good. I tell you, man. And
There's
just,
definitely a sense of
we
being
lied in
like,
that.
fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it. That's my new slogan for life, to be honest. Because, like, I don't know, suffering is a reality of life. You know, we're always going to go up and we're always going to go down like a watermelon on the sea. But does the watermelon get angry at the sea for taking it up and down? No, it knows that
No.
it is the nature of existence, that it goes up and it goes down.
Yeah.
That's my
Mm.
philosophy on life
Be a
now.
watermelon at sea.
Be a watermelon on the sea, just floating around, or a coconut on the sea. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I'm up. Oh, now I'm down. Okay. And I try not like, I don't know. It's easy to like exaggerate the problems. Like, oh, I'm down. I'm getting everything wrong in life. I need to work on this. And it begins this cycle of thought storm, of doubt, of shame, of all the things I've not done. But instead to just be like, okay, I'm up now. I'm down now. Okay. What can I do with where I am right now?
Mm.
Provides a kind of like, okay, I accept this is the state of my mind in this moment. How can I move forward? Sometimes that means just say fuck it. I'm going to lie on the bed for
And cry.
5-10 and I'm going to surrender to what is. A cry? Yes, crying. Can we please
Crying,
start crying at least once a week? Oh my
it
God.
feels like, because after you've cried, do you know your body can't tell the difference between when you're crying and you're laughing? Like that
No way.
sensation afterwards of relief and release. You know when you've had a like really
Mm,
good belly laugh, like you like something is fucking hilarious in a movie or whatever, and
yeah.
then afterwards you're just like, oh. And the same like after you've had like a really big cry. Yeah, your body apparently. I heard this like on a video I watched the other day. It was like your body can't tell the difference when you're between
I
crying and
saw
laughing.
I saw a scientific study that said crying relieves stress for a week.
Mm,
By a massive
wow.
degree. And there's a website that someone made after this study came out. It's called cryoncea.week.com. And this website it helps you, it like shows you sad things. And then
Mm,
it encourages you to cry. And then you can cry. And then your
mm.
stress will be low for the next week.
Wow. I always like to ask people when I first meet them and I'm getting to know someone. This is a thing to ask neurotypicals, or just people in general. But like, it was like, when did you last
Mm.
cry? And it's such a red flag to me when someone's like, "Oh, I don't cry," or like, "I don't remember the last time I cried." And I'm like, "Are you serious? I cried yesterday. I cried today." Like without a doubt, I have cried within the last 3 days.
So it's a way for people to get to know you too, that you feel things strong.
I cry a lot.
One thing I find fascinating about you is like your conversation style is you say what's on your mind right then, without any filter.
Yeah.
And like strangers get to know you in like 2 minutes because you're
Well,
like
I mean, when you were like, we need to talk about how to converse with neurotypical people. That was a
Yeah.
fucking idea.
Yeah.
So unmasked. That
How
I
to
don't-
talk to neurotypicals by people
And I
who
mean, it's
do not
like-
know what they're doing. Look, I go around with Adamina and she's like pure entertainment. Like she goes up to people and within 2 minutes, they know about her relationship. They know about her parents.
My last period.
And I do that
was,
too.
I'm kidding.
Last period, I'm 2 days in today. That's not how you sound.
Just like,
That's how you sound in my brain. Like your voice is how it is, but in my brain, it's like, "Hello, I'm Adamina." No, I'm just messing around. I'm messing. You know what? We never say, "Oh, how do you deal with intense happiness?"
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's wrong with sadness anyway? Like, what's all the hype on being happy all the time? Just be neutral. It's fine. Like, that should be
Fine.
more of a thing. Like, what's with all the
Neutrality.
pressure to be happy by everyone all the time? Like,
Yeah,
I'm over that.
toxic positivity.
Just saying. Toxy pov.
Right. Well, this was our episode today. We just mostly wanted to talk about fucking whatever.
Yeah, dude, I was really in an intense emotion and I was like, look, Addy, I don't think I can talk about anything else except for what I'm feeling right now. And so thanks for this opportunity. I hope this helped you listeners learn a bit more about how we're learning to navigate intense emotions. If you have any ideas of how ways that have helped you, then please feel free to message us on ADHD Explorers Instagram. It's just ADHD Explorers. What can I say? And thanks. Pass this on to any people that you think are too emotional. Lol, it's fine. It's fine to be emotional. It's fine.
Pass it on to your friend
It's
who
fine.
cries every 2 days.
You.
Me.
Yeah.
I get sent the episode 5 times.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
gonna
this is
send
my
this
podcast,
episode
guys.
to you. But yeah, thanks for listening. Like we've done so many episodes now. It's really nice to have this conversation each week, and I hope it helps you just stay on your ADHD management journey, and you know you're not alone in this. Like, listen to it on your bike. I'm sure you listen to it wherever, but we should start telling
You
people
have
to
to
like
be
listen
on
to
your
it
bike.
while doing something else. Because I don't know if podcasting is like the ADHD format, because we like quick snippets, right? So I want to start saying to people, like, do it while you're doing something else, like riding a bike or running or do something else. I don't know. You're in control of your own life, I'm sure. But we'll put this in a clip or something. Anyway, we love you. Celebrate your small wins this week. And remember that do what you can with what you have. And we love you very much.
And go have a cry if you want.
Lots of love, you guys.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.